This presentation is going to be centered around a scientist named Dorothy Hodgkin, who helped discover the structures of insulin, penicillin, and vitamin B12, which is shown over here on the right. So we're going to be looking at her life, her beginnings, kind of some of the big scientific impacts she had throughout her life. Starting from the beginning of her life, Dorothy was born in North Africa in Cairo, Egypt, which is pretty interesting considering that she began her early life then going towards England. Her day school experience took place at Sir John Lemon's School, and there she gained an interest in crystalline structures. Her parents, John and Grace Crowfoot, were both interested in archaeology, and this allowed Dorothy to experience liking to this area as well. In addition to this, as she was growing up, she gained an interest in chemistry. This was essentially catalyzed at the age of 15 when she was given a book titled Concerning the Nature of Things, which was by William Henry Bragg. This, again, kind of catalyzed her interest of chemistry and allowed her to really explore that field. If you look on this picture on the right, Dorothy is actually pictured in the back with one of her friends. You can see that there are a lot of males in this class, so this was a challenge that Dorothy was able to overcome. Even in her younger years, she was able to get into the classroom and begin accelerating her knowledge in that way. So moving forward for her higher education journey, she began in Oxford and Somerville College. Here she studied X-ray crystallography with John Desmond Bernal. Essentially what this is an analysis of molecules using an X-ray crystalline graph. What this does is it allows a scientist to look at the 3D structure of a molecule, and this helped her gain a stronger interest in those crystalline structures. This interest led her to Cambridge University, where she eventually obtained her PhD and started to become more renowned in that area. But it did take a lot of work as the years went on, since she was growing up and furthering her career in the early 1900s, where women were not necessarily given the credibility that they deserved. And here you can see her husband that she met at Cambridge University, and she ended up finishing her career there, and her research took place in that area as well. Here is her contribution to the field. You can see these 3 structures here on the left are the biggest ones. Again, as I stated before, she worked with John Desmond Bernal on his analysis of the enzyme pepsin, which we know is crucial in the digestion of proteins once it is activated in the stomach. She founded the X-ray crystallography in the Oxford Museum, and this was a big point for her because she was kind of becoming more known, and she was able to catalyze her research there as well. These, again, as I've said, are the most important molecular structures that she was able to discover through the X-ray crystallography, and this helped her grow in her analysis of these structures and ultimately lead to the medicinal uses that they have today and the understanding of those uses. So essentially how protein X-ray crystallography works is that an X-ray comes in, it causes refraction to go through the protein, and then we are able to achieve a 3D model. This is not an easy task, and Dorothy spent a lot of her life doing this, but it allowed for enhanced research to be taken for the uses of insulin, penicillin, and vitamin B12, which ultimately have very important properties in the body. It also shows some substrate enzyme binding interactions and the ability to map out a substance, given that it shows the 3D structure. So the importance of her discoveries for me was insulin. Insulin is a hormone that I've learned a lot about in my undergraduate years. We know that it is secreted when we consume food, and it allows glucose to enter into the cell when these GLUT4 receptors rise and glucose enters in, and it is able to produce ATP and fuel our body. So that I thought was one of the most interesting discoveries of hers. Vitamin B12, another very important molecule that is known to help in the treatment of anemia. This molecule and its discovery, its 3D structure, ultimately earned her the Nobel Prize in 1964, which is a huge accomplishment for a woman of this time, and it did not come easy. She worked very, very hard for this outcome. So again, the personal interest for me, just with going through biochemistry and learning about these molecules, insulin specifically, we didn't touch on penicillin or vitamin B12, but we understand that they have very important physiological processes in the body. But just to know that an individual was able to come to these conclusions and locate the structure of these molecules was incredible. And also the fact that it helped further medical research. So with these structures, further analysis were able to completed to show how these molecules bind in the body, how they, what they function in, and their importance in that as well. And another thing that I found interesting was this Dorothy Hodgkin Fellowship. As I was doing my research for this project, I found that this fellowship was created to help individuals who are returning back to research after being gone. So essentially women who are on maternity leave who would like to come back to research, but they're not really sure how to go about doing that. This fellowship has been created for those individuals. It's not specifically for women, but it is for the people who want to kind of get back into the field that they once knew and loved, but they kind of had to take a step back due to family obligations or medical issues. So that for me was very, very encouraging and impressive, and something that I thought was a great legacy left behind by Dorothy, just to spur on the discoveries that she made. And here is my bibliography. Thank you.